Lorne Greene was known as one of the nicest men in Hollywood. He was Canada's gift to American television. He was the father figure who defined an entire generation. He showed everyone what a dad should be: gentle and wise and moral and unshakable. But there was one man in all of Hollywood that Lorne Greene truly hated, and it was not who you would expect. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. Part 1: The Gentleman's Mask. Before we reveal the name, you need to understand who Lorne Greene really was, not the character he played, not Ben Cartwright, not the public image, the real man behind the most famous father in America, because the hatred when it came was so shocking that everyone who knew about it kept it secret for decades, out of respect, out of fear, out of understanding that some truths destroy legacies forever. Lorne Greene was born Lyon Hyman Greene in Ottawa in Canada in 1915. He came from a Jewish family. They were middle class and hardworking. He did not dream of being an actor when he was young. He studied chemical engineering at Queen's University, but somewhere along the way the stage called to him. Radio came first, then theater, then finally Hollywood. By the time Bonanza premiered in 1959, Greene was 44 years old. He was not young by Hollywood standards. He was not the typical leading man, but NBC saw something special in him. They saw authority, they saw warmth, they saw trustworthiness. He had the kind of face you would believe. He had the kind of voice you would follow anywhere. They made him Ben Cartwright. He became the patriarch of the Ponderosa. He became father to 3 sons. He became the moral center of the biggest Western television would ever see. Bonanza became a phenomenon that changed television forever. It ran for 14 seasons. It produced 431 episodes. At its peak, 60 million Americans watched every single week. Lorne Greene became one of the most recognizable faces on the entire planet. He was beloved by everyone. He was trusted completely. He was America's dad. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Behind the warm smile and gentle eyes, Lorne Greene was fighting a private war. It was a battle of wills and egos. It was a fundamental disagreement about what television should be, about what stories should be told, about what responsibility comes with reaching 60 million people every single week. And in that war, there was one enemy. One person Greene came to despise with an intensity that shocked everyone who witnessed it. The name? We will get there soon. First, you need to understand the breaking point. The moment when the gentleman became the most quietly vengeful person in Hollywood. Part 2: The Philosophy of Control. Lorne Greene believed in something he called responsible storytelling. He talked about it in interviews throughout the 1960s and 1970s. The idea was simple and clear. If you have a platform that reaches millions of families, you have a moral obligation. You must use it wisely. You must teach good values. You must guide people. You must model good behavior for children and adults. On Bonanza, that meant Ben Cartwright was never wrong for very long. If he made a mistake, he would acknowledge it quickly. He would apologize. He would make it right. He treated everyone fairly. He stood for justice always. He embodied everything a father should be, everything a man should be, everything a leader should be. Greene insisted on this constantly. He fought for it. He made sure every script and every scene reinforced those values. In a 1967 interview, Greene explained his philosophy very clearly. He said that when children watch Ben Cartwright, they are learning what a father should be. When adults watch, they are reminded of what they should strive for. That is not just entertainment. That is education. And he took that responsibility very seriously. It sounds noble and admirable, except there was a darker side to this philosophy, a controlling side that nobody wanted to talk about, an inflexible side that made working with him very difficult. Because responsible storytelling meant Greene had opinions about absolutely everything, about every script, about every character choice, about every storyline. And if you disagreed with his vision of responsibility, you had a problem. If you challenged his moral authority, you became his enemy. If you dared to suggest that maybe television could be more complex than good guys and bad guys, you would pay a price. One person did exactly that. He challenged everything Greene believed in. He questioned his authority constantly. He rejected his philosophy completely, and he paid the price for the next 2 decades of his life. Part 3. The Rival Revealed. Michael Landon, Little Joe Cartwright, the youngest son on the show, the hothead character, the pretty boy who became a massive superstar. That is who Lorne Greene hated more than anyone in Hollywood, more than difficult actors, more than controlling executives, more than critics who dismissed Bonanza. Michael Landon was the one person who got under his skin and stayed there for 20 years. The hatred was not immediate or obvious. It was not the kind of explosive public feud that tabloids love to cover. It was cold and calculated and professional. It was absolutely ruthless in quiet ways. The kind of hatred that expresses itself in behind-the-scenes sabotage, in careful maneuvering, in public statements that seem complimentary but carry hidden blades underneath. When Bonanza started in 1959, Landon was only 22 years old. Greene was 44. The age difference mattered greatly to Greene. He saw himself as the elder statesman, the mentor, the authority figure both on set and off camera. He expected deference from younger actors. He expected respect. He wanted the same kind of relationship Ben Cartwright had with his sons. He expected that in real life too. Dan Blocker gave him exactly that kind of respect. He played Hoss with genuine humility. He looked to Greene for guidance always. He accepted his leadership without question. Pernell Roberts rejected it entirely, but Roberts was close to the same age as Greene. He could challenge Greene as an equal, that Greene could tolerate even if he did not like it very much. But Michael Landon was different in a way that infuriated Greene. Landon did not defer to Greene. He did not challenge him either. He simply ignored him. He went his own way. He built his own career. He developed his own vision. He created his own power base completely independent of Lorne Greene. He did not seek approval or permission, and that Greene could never forgive. Part 4. The power struggle begins. The conflict started small at first, just creative disagreements. Landon wanted Little Joe to be more complex as a character, more flawed, more interesting than just the young hothead. He started suggesting script changes. He proposed character developments. He pitched story arcs that went beyond simple morality tales. Greene opposed him at every single turn, in script meetings, in discussions with producers, in subtle comments to writers. He would say that is not who Little Joe is. That is not what this show is about. We have a responsibility to our audience that we cannot abandon. Landon pushed back, not openly or confrontationally, but persistently and strategically. By 1962, he had started writing scripts himself. He began directing episodes. He was learning production. He was learning the business side. He was building skills and relationships that would eventually make him more powerful than Greene could ever imagine. According to David Dortort, who created and produced Bonanza, the tension became obvious by the mid-1960s. In his memoir published in 1995, Dortort wrote about the complicated relationship. He said Lorne saw himself as the moral center of the show, its compass. Michael saw himself as the future of the show. They were both right. They were both wrong, and neither man would ever admit it. The breaking point came in 1968. It was the 9th season. Bonanza was still the #1 show in America, but things were changing in the culture. The cultural revolution was happening. Young people were questioning authority. They were challenging tradition. They were demanding complexity and honesty from their entertainment. Michael Landon wrote an episode called The Clarion. It was about a newspaper editor who publishes uncomfortable truths, who challenges power, who refuses to be silenced by anyone. The script was approved. Landon directed it himself. The episode aired and became one of the most talked-about Bonanzas ever produced. It was controversial. It was complex. It was morally ambiguous in ways the show had never been before. Lorne Greene hated it with a passion. He hated everything about it. He hated that Landon had pushed boundaries that Greene believed should never be crossed. He hated that audiences loved it. He hated that it proved Landon might be right about the future. According to biographies written about Landon, Greene confronted him after the episode aired. Greene told Landon that he had betrayed the show, that he had betrayed the audience. that he had betrayed everything Bonanza stood for. Landon responded calmly but firmly. He said the show Greene loved had ended 5 years ago. The audience has changed. We need to change with them or die. They barely spoke after that except when cameras were rolling. Part 5: The Silent War. For the remaining 5 years of Bonanza from 1968 to 1973, the two men worked together professionally. They hated each other privately. The war was subtle. It was invisible to audiences, but it was devastating to everyone caught in the middle. Greene used his status as the star of the show to block Landon whenever possible. When Landon wanted to direct episodes, Greene would quietly express concerns to producers. He would say Michael is very talented, but I'm not sure he understands what Bonanza is really about. When Landon wrote scripts, Greene would suggest improvements that gutted the complexity. That removed the moral ambiguity. That eliminated the challenge. Landon responded by building his career outside Bonanza entirely. He developed relationships with other networks, with other producers. He was planning his next move carefully. By 1972, he had a development deal with NBC for his own show, complete creative control. Everything Bonanza would not give him. On set, they maintained professionalism at all times. They said their lines. They hit their marks. They smiled for photos. But between takes, there was nothing. No conversation, no friendship, no warmth at all. Just cold politeness and mutual contempt. The cast and crew noticed the tension immediately. Dan Blocker, before his death in 1972, tried to mediate between them. He failed completely. According to his son in a 2003 interview, Blocker loved both men. He respected them both. But he could not get them to even try to understand each other. Lorne thought Michael was arrogant and disrespectful. Michael thought Lorne was controlling and outdated. Neither would budge even an inch. Part 6: Little House on the Prairie. When Bonanza ended in 1973, Lorne Greene was 58 years old. His career was not over. He would do other shows and other projects, but nothing would ever match the success of Bonanza. He knew it. Everyone knew it. His moment had passed. Michael Landon was 36 years old. His career was just beginning in many ways. Within a year, Little House on the Prairie premiered. Landon created it. He produced it. He wrote it. He directed it. He starred in it. Complete control. His vision, his show, his success. And it was everything Bonanza was not. It was complex. It was morally ambiguous. It was willing to tackle difficult subjects that family television usually avoided. Poverty, racism, disability, death, faith, doubt. All the things Lorne Greene had blocked on Bonanza. All the stories he had said were too dark, too complicated, too challenging for family television. Little House was a massive hit that dominated television. It ran for 9 seasons. It made Landon one of the most powerful producers in television history. It vindicated everything he had believed. Everything Greene had opposed for 14 years. Lorne Greene watched it happen from the sidelines. He watched Landon succeed with the exact approach Greene had spent years preventing. The approach Greene had insisted would fail, would alienate audiences, would betray television. And it worked beautifully. The bitterness was profound and deep. In later interviews, Greene rarely mentioned Landon by name. When asked about Bonanza cast members, he would talk warmly about Dan Blocker, respectfully about Pernell Roberts, enthusiastically about the crew and producers, about Landon. Silence or brief cold professionalism. Michael was very talented, very ambitious. That was all he would say. Friends of Greene from that period remember his private comments. He resented that Landon had stolen the Bonanza format and corrupted it. He was angry that Little House got credit for innovation when Bonanza had been doing family television for years. He was frustrated that history was forgetting Bonanza while celebrating Landon. Part 7: The Final Silence. Lorne Greene died in 1987. He suffered cardiac arrest following pneumonia. He was 72 years old. The funeral was attended by television royalty. Bonanza colleagues came. Friends from 6 decades in entertainment showed up to pay respects. Michael Landon attended the funeral. He sat in the back quietly. He stayed only briefly. He left without speaking to press or family members. His presence was noted by everyone. His silence was even louder than words. Later in a 1988 interview, Landon was asked about Greene and their relationship. He gave a very diplomatic answer. He said Lorne and I had our differences. Strong creative differences that could not be resolved. But he was Ben Cartwright to millions of people, and that matters. That legacy matters greatly. I respected what he built even when I disagreed with how he built it. It was diplomatic. It was professional. And it was completely devoid of warmth or real affection. When Landon himself died in 1991 from pancreatic cancer, the tributes poured in from everywhere. President Reagan issued a statement. Television executives called him a genius. Fellow actors mourned a talent gone too soon. In all those tributes, Bonanza was mentioned often, the show that made Landon a star, but Lorne Greene was rarely mentioned. When his name did come up, it was brief and factual and cold. Landon got his start on Bonanza with Lorne Greene. That was it. No stories of mentorship, no warm memories, no friendship, just acknowledgement of a professional relationship that had ended decades before. Part 8. The Legacy of Hatred. Why does this matter today? Why does a 40-year-old feud between two dead television stars deserve our attention and examination? Because it reveals something fundamental about creative conflict, about generational change, about what happens when two visions of what entertainment should be collide with no possibility of compromise or understanding. Lorne Greene believed television had a responsibility to provide comfort, to provide clarity, to provide simple moral lessons for a complicated world. Michael Landon believed television had a responsibility to challenge audiences, to complicate their thinking, to reflect the messy reality of human experience. Both men were right in their own way. Both were also wrong. Both created shows that touched millions of lives, and both hated each other for representing everything they opposed. The tragedy is that they needed each other desperately. Greene gave Bonanza its moral heart. Landon gave it creative edge and ambition. Together they could have created something even greater than what Bonanza became. But ego and pride and fundamental disagreement made collaboration impossible. In the end, what did the hatred accomplish? Absolutely nothing of value. Bonanza is remembered fondly but not reverently. Little House is celebrated but not universally. Both men died with complicated legacies, brilliant careers shadowed by conflict and bitterness. The hatred Lorne Greene felt for Michael Landon did not destroy Landon. It did not diminish his success. It just made Greene bitter and resentful, unable to enjoy his own considerable achievements, too focused on opposing someone else instead of celebrating his own work. That is the real truth worth gasping about. Not that Lorne Greene hated Michael Landon, but that the hatred accomplished nothing except wasting 30 years of emotional energy, a battle that had no winner, no resolution, no point whatsoever. Two men with two different visions, 30 years of contempt, and in the end both are remembered for the work they did despite each other, not because of each other. Lorne Greene truly hated Michael Landon more than anyone in Hollywood, and it mattered to absolutely no one except the two of them. A waste of energy, a waste of time, a waste of what could have been a powerful partnership. That is the lesson. Hatred destroys the person who carries it far more than the person it targets.